This round on No FOMO, we had another discussion with IT once again, talking about the historic lows in the European currencies. With every historic low or high, it presents a unique opportunity, so as long as you're prepared and know what to look for, moments to capitalize off of present itself. Listen in as we have a technical discussion on the state of the market, U.S. inflation, and the UK economic plan to try and help fight the extreme territories that the world currencies are in the state of. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of No FOMO. Today, we have IT back on the line with us to discuss a few things that's going on in the currency markets. As we see, things are starting to take a shift. Things are turning around. So I figured, with these things going on, with the state of the U.S. dollar and the state of the British pound, IT would be a great person to speak to about these things going on as he's located in the UK area. Hey, IT, welcome back. How you doing, man?
Hi, I'm doing great. Great to have you back for another episode here.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Awesome. So how's everything going on your side of the world, man?
Well, as you can see, currently there's a whole lot of things going on down here. The public are not happy because of majority of the people in the country don't make the kind of money that they're trying to help with the tax, right? The the current prime minister is trying to cut rates for those that makes higher income
Mm.
and do nothing about those that makes lower income. So since majority are on lower income, it's still gonna benefit those that makes higher income.
Hmm.
So it's something that the public is upset about. And I think that is one of the reasons why we see a dive in the pound currently.
That's interesting, man, because I know that all these all of the currencies are going through different things due to all the economic situations with every country is under tremendous pressure, and especially the larger leading economies are dealing, it seems they're all dealing with income inequality, and it's starting to put tremendous pressure on the governments to make some significant changes. I wanted
I
to
agree. I agree.
I wanted to ask you, what is your view on the current state of the British economy, considering that the pound is as low as it's ever been against the dollar in the last 30 years?
Right. From from a trader perspective, I see it as an opportunity. I don't see it as something bad because um, in order for investors to be attracted to something, it has to be cheap, right? Because an investor will only buy something and if you only appreciate. An investor will not buy something if it's already pumped up. So I'm seeing the opposite side of what everybody's saying, that the pound is very low. It's low for a reason. If you look at what happened to crude oil, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, everybody thought that, crude oil was going to stay at a negative price or probably very low. But what happened next was crude oil went to almost all-time high. So if you look at it from that angle, then it was a good opportunity for those that knows about, the price or those that know about the market. So currently, what we're experiencing, I think if you understand what is really going on, is being driven down for a reason. And that reason is to buy it back up again.
Hmm. That is interesting indeed. How do you think that the pound will play out in the global grand scale of the major currencies?
I think we should turn our eyes to Russia and Ukraine
Hmm.
because that's the narrative that is currently controlling the market. Now, because of that quote unquote war that is happening, that's the main reason why dollar index, the dollar itself is going up.
Hmm.
Because anytime we do have such situations, investors will flee to safe haven, and safe haven have always been the dollar index. Now, it used to be dollar, gold, and the yen and Swiss. For some reason, which that's what I'm currently looking into right now, why the yen has not gained strength and why gold has not gone up. Because if it was like previous events, then you will see the gold market going up, you will see the yen going up, you will see the Swiss going up, you will see dollar index going up. But this time around, it seems that it's just the dollar index that is going up, which hasn't been in the past, because in the past, all the markets that I've mentioned went up with it. So I think aside the war, there's something else that is going on, which I cannot pinpoint, but I'm just keeping my eye on Russia because I think just about 3 days ago, I heard that Russia is trying to go into peace talking with Ukraine. And if that happens, and I'm currently looking at the dollar index right now, there is a level that I'm watching that it's kind of aligning itself with a peace talk.
Hmm.
Now, if we do get peace between Ukraine and Russia, what will then happen is now there is no more panic, right? And the world will go back to being normal because right now it's like it's not normal. And when
Right.
that happens, investors will feel like, okay, now we can go in and start risking again. So they will not pump money into just the dollar, but it will now go into emerging markets. It will go into um, now currencies that are very cheap to invest in, like all the majors.
Hmm. That's interesting indeed. Now, I'm here in the US, and being that you're over in the UK, one thing that I'm watching here is because both economies are going through the situation where you have pressure from the public, and inflation. Here in the U.S., dealing with the inflation, the U.S. is focused on the U.S. Fed is focused on raising the tax rates. So raising the tax rates so that it helps fight the inflation. In the UK, it looks like the government is more focused on giving tax cuts to the upper wealthy to try to fight the economic downturn, and that causes the pressure from the public. I was wondering, what's your viewpoint on the way the UK is trying to fight the inflation situation versus the way the US is trying to fight the inflation?
To me, I think it's got to do with competence. The current administration that we have um, in the UK, they don't have experience, so they are doing what they think will help, but the majority don't see it that way. Because if you're trying to, beat inflation, the best thing to do is to make it fair,
Hmm.
right? Because
Okay.
if you're only going to cut rate for those that are making big money, what happens to those that are making medium or less to nothing? What will eventually happen is people are now going to either, because in UK, majority are on benefit, right?
Hmm.
And if I have to go and work and someone will sit at home and be comfortable not working, and I will work and I'll get, let's say, I'll not make that big money that people are making. I'll make average and I don't have this tax cut for myself. I'll end up losing because the cost of living keeps rising because of the inflation. So I will end up saying, okay, why would I go and work whilst I can be on benefit? Even if cost of prices are going higher or cost of living is going higher, at least I'm not working. I'm making money. So what we eventually do is it's gonna cause the economy to keep going down and inflation will keep going higher. So I don't think what they're doing right now is the best. And I think they should make it fair by either cutting rates for everyone and not just for the wealthy, and
Mm,
also doing something about the benefit system, because
mhm.
that is really crippling the economy because majority of people don't want to work.
Hmm.
And if you have a country where majority of the people don't want to work because they're getting free money, what will end up happening is people are going to get upset. And we are heading towards hard time. So if you're heading towards hard time and people don't want to work and still want to live off from benefit, um, everybody wants to do that. Because what's the point of me working? And I feel it because my wife is a nurse, and the amount she makes at the end of the month compared to someone who doesn't work, sitting at home, she keeps telling me, I think I might as well as come and sit home and not work because it's not worth it,
Wow.
right? So right now it's really tough, and I think it's gonna get even worse.
Hmm. That's that's definitely interesting because it makes me think about the struggle of the dynamic conversation between economic between capitalistic views versus socialistic views because the socialistic argument is so strong today. That's a topic for a whole nother discussion. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, what is your viewpoint on the global economy, the grand scale? How do you think that will affect the currency markets as a whole?
Right. So currently, um, if you're a conspiracy theorist, then we can go into the rabbit hole, right? Because we believe that there's a global agenda, and that global agenda is to drive all countries to one currency, or drive the whole global economy into using um, digital currency. So, in my opinion, everything is shaping towards that. They are making things worse and worse and worse to get us into a situation where we will be forced to do something drastic. And I don't know which angle is going to come, but from where I'm standing now, it's not going to get better. And I think it started with COVID, right? Where all the I think economy came standstill because we couldn't move, and we are now having the after effect of post COVID, which was predictable because you can't shut down everything and then expect um, after the COVID situation everything to run normal. We are going through the post COVID situation, and that is what is driving the global currency, the global economy right now. And looking at things from, again, a conspiracy theorist angle, it's leading to a bigger agenda, which is either we're going to go digital, right? Or one currency for everyone.
Wow. So that's meaning we could more so lean into a centralized currency for everyone or a cryptocurrency.
That's it.
Huh.
Because if you look at what is going on right now, people are losing faith in the banks,
Right.
right? People are actually losing faith in the bank because I think I was in a meeting yesterday with EFX leaders, and we were discussing about when what actually keeps a bank, right? A bank has to have a reserve, meaning that for you to be a bank, you have to have at least 3% of what you claim to have in cash, right? So you were reading that they've reduced it to zero, meaning a bank doesn't have to have anything in terms of cash reserved and can still operate as a bank. So what will end up happening is that if, let's say, I decide to withdraw all my money from the bank, you decide to withdraw all your money from the bank, everybody decides to withdraw all their money from the bank,
There's nothing there. There's nothing
there's
there to
nothing
cover
there.
it. Wow.
Right? There's nothing there because right now they don't have um the compulsory requirement to have that 3%. It's now to zero. So if you look at things like that, it's very worrying. And just imagine right now where we think there's food shortage coming, or where we think, you know, the banks are going to be struggling to give us money. What if it actually happens and everybody decides to go to get their money? Everybody's going to struggle. Why? Because they wouldn't have it to give it to us. And that will cause a lot of chaos.
And the system implodes on itself.
Exactly. So it's all, I think it's all propaganda. It's all agenda towards something. And that's something we all know, but it's like people think it's a joke. Some people think it's not real, but it is. And if you look at the current situations, it's like it's driving towards an agenda.
Hmm. So with that being said, are you bearish on all currencies?
I am bearish on all currencies, but am looking at a level on dollar index and looking at particularly the Russian and Ukraine war, because once there is peace, even prices of energy is going up. Energy prices are, keeps going up because of that, right? Because Russia supplies a lot of energy to, I don't know about the States, but when it comes to Europe, we do have most of the supplies coming from Russia.
Right.
Now,
They're
because,
a non-factor here while they're a big player there.
yeah, they are a big player here. So because of that, well, energy prices has gone up like crazy. So once we do have that kind of peace between them, we will start getting energy from Russia, and it should reduce the cost of energy, prices. And we wouldn't have the risk that we have in the market right now. Because whenever there is war, or whenever there is some kind of a global event, it's considered to be a risky market. The whole market is considered to be risky. Hence, people will take their money out from the market and invest it somewhere safe, like the dollar. Now, once the risk is not there anymore, then they don't need to invest, or they don't need to put their money in a safe place. They can now invest it in anything because there's no more risk. So once we get to that situation, what are you gonna do? You're gonna buy cheap stuff. So what will be cheap? Everything that is going down right now, all the currencies that are going down, they will become very cheap. And then you just buy them cheap. So
Equating to the pound recovering from its historic low.
exactly.
Huh.
And euro, I'm mostly focusing on the pound and euro because that's the most traded. And looking at the level that is right now, if you're an investor and you keep your eyes on the global events and you understand the things that I'm talking about, that's where you should be watching.
Indeed. Indeed. So what do you feel that what does this mean for retail traders during the so-called transition of power between these currencies?
Um, I will say this: get yourself educated
Hmm.
properly because you can make a generational wealth in this transition. Um, if you look at what happened in 2007, 2008, during when quote unquote they said we were in recession, it wasn't recession, it was market at a discount.
Hmm.
So you have to have a different view what is actually happening out there versus what's really happening. Because what's happening out there is just fear and panic. But those in the know, they know that that's an opportunity.
Indeed.
So you have to, first of all, get yourself educated because once you're educated, you're going to see that actually something going down is not bad. It's good because it can only go back up. It can't keep going down,
Right.
right? So when the time is right, when you have the proper education and the time is right, you know what to get yourself into. And I've probably not touched on cryptos as well. That's another thing that you need to get yourself educated on because once we lose faith in the fiat currency, it's all going to be digital.
Right.
And almighty Bitcoin is currently trading at a very low. It's not very low, but it's trading in a discount already.
Right.
So get yourself educated about the crypto market as well, because right now it's not official that we are gonna stop using fiat currency. So you still have to be dealing with fiat currency, but from where things are going now, look at both.
Right. It's always best to not keep everything in one basket, all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. I'm getting myself ready for. I've never traded Bitcoin. I've looked at the market, but looking at the way things are going, I'm 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 very interested in crypto market right now
Mm.
because if that transition happens, I want to go into cryptos. I want to put everything. I'll not say all my, investment, but majority of them will go into the crypto market because when we lose faith in fiat currency, which I think is coming, um, everything will be digital. And I think we were also talking about yesterday, where central banks around the world have started creating their own digital currencies. Um, China has started, I think they started using it back in 2019. We have Russia that has also started their digital currency. Um, Surprisingly, Nigeria has also started their digital currency. And there are other countries out there that have started um, with their digital currency. So it's coming. like I said, get yourself educated because these things are not made public. You have to go and research them.
Right,
And if you don't get yourself educated, you won't know about these things because they will not make it public for you to know.
right, indeed. So we spoke a lot about the Ukraine situation and everything that's going on with Russia. But how do you feel that the Chinese economy plays will play into this global currency issue?
Um, okay, so I used to be religious, but not anymore.
Okay.
Um, I'm spiritual now. Before I was religious, but now I'm spiritual. But if you look at, I'll say the Bible, there will be a transition of power.
Hmm.
Babylon is going to fall, which we all know is going to is US right now. It's going to fall, and someone else will take over, and I think it will be China.
Hmm.
China is a superpower right now, but it's just waiting for its time, and
Right.
the time is getting very near. I'm not saying and I'm not predicting, but the dollar, something that goes up will always come down, right? It
Hmm.
can't keep going up forever. We will get a situation where dollar index is going to collapse.
Hmm.
I keep saying dollar index because I trade the currency, but dollar itself is going to collapse.
Hmm.
And when that happens, someone else have to take over. And that's why I think China will come in
Indeed.
because they are a superpower. Everything is made in China.
Hmm.
All the big companies, they all have their um, warehouses. I say warehouses, their production line in China.
Right.
I used to work as a online retailer,
Uh-huh.
and I was shocked the amount of things that we get from the that continent.
I mean, they basically control the entire e-commerce market.
They do everything.
Hmm.
Now, why is that? Is because it's cheap labor down there. So everybody wants to obviously produce cheap and sell high. Now, what happens if they decide not to do it anymore?
Hmm.
Cost of labor is going to go high. No one who wants to buy an iPhone for $3,000.
Right.
If Apple decide, oh, sorry, if China decide not to produce iPhones in China anymore, they will have to do it somewhere else. Now, if they do it somewhere else, it's going to cost them more to produce,
Hmm.
right? And if it costs more to produce, then it's going to cost higher, and no one wants to buy. So if that happens, then China is going to take over because they are going to be the superpower. They are going to produce everything for the rest of the world.
Wow. So are there any currency pairs in particular that you see looking that are looking like they're about to make a historic shift? I know that you pay a lot of attention to the pound, the dollar, and the euro. So could it be that those between those three, there are pairs that are about to make a historic shift?
Um, Aside the pound, euro, another currency that I love looking is the Australian and the New Zealand currency because they are not huge, but it's a market that, in my opinion, if you don't want to go into euro and pound, you can look into the Australian and the New Zealand because it's a stable economy. It's not as powerful as the pound and euro, but they are stable economies. So you can go into Australian and New Zealand as well. And you can diverse your portfolio into investing in the Australian market because it's a good market. They are very close to China.
Hmm.
So most of the things going on in China benefits them as well because there is a correlation between the Chinese yuan and Australian dollar. If the Chinese yuan goes up, Australian dollar goes up because they are close
Ah,
neighbors. So Australian dollar will benefit more if we get that, shift in power. I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but it's an economy that you can potentially even look into some of their stocks, some of their, especially their index. It's called AU. I forgot the actual name. Look into the Australian index, just like the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. Australian has got one. If you look at that, start looking into it because if we get any shift, they are going to be a superpower as well.
hmm.
It's just like dollar and Canadian dollar, right? They
Right.
are very close neighbors. So if dollar is going up, the Canadian dollar is also going up.
Huh.
So if Chinese yuan is going up, Australian dollar is also going to go up. And Australia is also very close to New Zealand. So it's those three.
Right. Wow. That's very interesting. So, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on, man, and having this conversation. That is some very valuable knowledge, especially comparing the two different economies, the U.S. and the U.K. They affect so much of what's going on a global scale, and we can take this information and compare it to what's going on all around the world, and how these different currencies are reacting to the market.
Yeah, definitely. My priority right now is to get as many people educated as possible
Indeed.
because what is coming, um, I'm not a prophet of doom, but everybody needs to get prepared and know what to do. Because whenever there is kind of a shift globally, if people are not prepared, it can lead to some, catastrophic things. You get people doing things that they're not meant to do, right? Because
Right.
they are not prepared. And when it happens, it becomes like a surprise. And what I'm trying to say is people will lose jobs. People will lose jobs and their savings and also probably their homes, right? And if you are not prepared and you lose these three things, what are you going to do? Right? You become hopeless, and hopeless means you have to do something to survive, and
Indeed.
that's what can lead to all civil unrest and stuff like that. So, my goal right now is to educate as many people as I can so that they can get themselves prepared mentally, spiritually, and financially, right? But my goal is the financial aspect. I do help people to prepare um, spiritually and emotionally, but financially is the key because once you prepare financially, whatever happens, at least you can survive.
Hmm. That's right. Man, well, I do appreciate that, man. And hey, once again, people, thank you for tuning in to No FOMO, where our focus is discussing the mindset and objective of being an effective and efficient trader. No fear, as we don't miss out. We don't take losses. We elevate. There's a difference. I appreciate you coming on, man. And definitely make sure you drop your before we get off, drop your social media tags where people can reach out to you directly.
Yes, you can reach out to me on Telegram. is Institute Trader. Facebook, Institute Trader. Instagram, Institute Trader. And Twitter is Institute Trader. Everywhere, all the social media handles is Institute Trader.
Indeed. So people, stay tuned as we have more conversations with master traders like IT to discuss the secret to having consistency and accuracy within these markets. As these things change, make sure you have no FOMO, no fear in this market. Stay elevated. That's what that is, man. We out.